Good morning, good day, and good evening to all our attendees joining us for today's latest Data Science Central webinar. I'd like to start our event off today by thanking Ultrix and Qlik for sponsoring today's event. We appreciate their support of the Data Science Central community, and we are honored to have them both sponsoring our webinar today. I would also like to take this opportunity to mention and show our appreciation for some of our other recent sponsors, including Cisco, Hortonworks, Oracle, Teradata, Splunk, and TIBCO, to name just a few. These past webinars are available on demand at datasciencecentral.com, and if you've not had the opportunity to view them, I would encourage you to take a look, as they do provide some very useful information. Today's webinar is entitled Toolsets to Streamline the Workflow for Today's Data Analytics. And before we begin, I'd like to just briefly review the format of today's webinar. Today's event will be approximately 1 hour long. We have 3 panelists that I'll introduce to all of you in just a few moments. We should have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A following the presentation, and this event is being taped and will be made available later on this afternoon at datasciencecentral.com. I'd also like to encourage our attendees to provide questions throughout the presentation. We will be reviewing them and presenting them on your behalf during the Q&A portion of today's event. My name is Tim Madison. I'm one of the co-founders of Data Science Central, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm very pleased to introduce today's speakers, Michael Snow and Jean Reines of Alteryx, and Jesus Centeno of Qlik. Michael is a partner marketing director with Ultrix. He has over 20 years of experience in technology companies and has been involved as a sales and solutions engineer, product marketing manager, and director of product marketing, most recently with Oracle. Jean is a senior solutions engineer at Ultrix, where he has been helping customers solve their data problems and enhance productivity since 2011. Prior to that, Jean worked for a privately held business consulting firm where he started using Ultrix to answer business questions back in 2006 when the company was first introduced. And finally, Jesus is an executive leader with over 15 years of blended experience in information technology, strategic planning, business intelligence, and data warehousing. His experience includes end-to-end technical management throughout various selling cycles across a multitude of verticals and subject areas. Welcome to you all. We're looking forward to your presentation, so thanks for being with us. Most organizations today are all too familiar with the complications associated with handling the flood of data involved in their analytics process. It's often necessary to have multiple tools to ingest, clean, and merge your data before you can even begin to analyze those data sets. It's a common issue, and in today's webinar, we will explore a new set of tools provided by Ultrix and Qlik that streamlines this otherwise highly inefficient process, making it simple, fast, intuitive, and cost-effective. You will gain deeper insight into your data within hours rather than within weeks. Before we begin the formal presentation, I'd like to let our audience know that if you'd like to expand the viewing area of your live view, there's a small green dot at the top right corner of your viewing area. You can click that and it'll auto-expand so that you get the full effect of today's webinar. So with that, Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can begin the presentation as soon as you're ready to go.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We can tell we've hit a nerve by the overwhelming response we've seen to this webcast so far. So many thanks to Tim and his team at Data Science Central for helping us to pull this together. So we're going to try and keep this very brief on the slideware today so we can really show you the platforms and how they'll dramatically make your analytical lives a lot easier. We will have time, as Tim said, for Q&A at the end, so submit those questions into the Q&A, and we'll get to as many as we can as possible. Everything we're going to talk about today and show today will help you streamline your data analytics. And if you're using Qlik for your data visualizations, or if you're looking for a great visualization tool, we'll show you how you can easily automate and enrich your Qlik data prep. So those of you on the webcast today that consider yourselves to be data scientists, you aren't spreading the word about the glamour and fame of your chosen occupation, and are unfortunately a rare breed, relatively speaking, as you can see here. You all need to go back to your alma maters and evangelize the next generation to increase your ranks and not go the way of the dodo. That said, unless you've been living in a hole recently, you've certainly realized that big data and analytics have climbed to the top of the corporate agenda. Together, they promise to transform the way companies do business, delivering the kind of performance gains last seen in the 1990s, when, as you'll remember, organizations redesigned their entire core processes. In a recent study by McKinsey, they looked at this trend, and among many others, they concluded that as data-driven strategies take hold, they will become an increasingly important part of competitive differentiation. Fully exploiting data and analytics, we know, requires three mutually supportive capabilities. First of all, companies must be able to identify, combine, and manage multiple sources of data. Second, they need the capability to build advanced analytic models for predicting and optimizing their outcomes. And third, and perhaps most critical, management must possess the muscle to transform the organization so that the data and models actually yield better decisions. Now, two very important features underpin these competencies. One, a clear strategy for how to use data and analytics and how to use those two to compete, and the deployment of the right technology architecture and capabilities. Now, the United States alone today faces a shortage of 140,000 to 190,000 people with analytical expertise, and 1.5 million managers and analysts with the skills to understand and make decisions based on the analysis of big data. So it's simple. It really comes down to this. We have too many data sources to combine, we have too few data scientists, and it's too hard for the average analyst to build an analytical app. Something needs to change. Self-service analytics is providing this needed change. In the digital era, organizations are quickly realizing that the most important differentiator is how they obtain value from information. In other words, it's their analytical capabilities rather than how they run business processes that will make them successful in the marketplace. An important component of this is empowering employees with easy access to data to support better decisions and to propel their organizations forward. Now, traditional business intelligence, BI, is based on the idea that experts, usually IT, provide the answers to individuals, often in the form of static reports. In contrast, as you'll see, Ultrix and Qlik deliver data discovery that empowers everyone to benefit from the opportunity to explore their data and answer new questions as they arise. Our solutions together create an interactive environment that encourages exploration and provides the tools people need to navigate their data and uncover hidden insights. In a self-service model, businesses can drive insight to the edges of their organization, enabling everyone to do their jobs smarter and faster than ever, with visual solutions that get them the data they need without coding. We understand there's a spectrum of technical skills across many organizations, and our solutions help you address every user's needs. We also realize the important need for highly skilled data scientists. But at the same time, as you saw a few slides ago, there aren't enough of you to go around. And if you can save time by automating what you currently do manually or by coding, your expertise can be used on more challenging assignments. Now, the need for analytics runs across every single department in an organization. The types of analytical demands that you see are such like these. In finance, you see financial planning and analysis, right? You see expense management, revenue and profitability, cash flow and balance sheet, risk and compliance, investments and fraud detection, and asset allocation. Within marketing, you see the obvious ones like campaign performance and customer segmentation, but how about what is the next logical offer? Or which messages should I send to my prospects? Or market basket analysis or product affinity. What products are typically purchased together? And can we increase sales by changing product placement in store or on our web page? And then multi-channel analysis. Which products are performing in which channels and why? Within the operations group in most organizations, you see analysis like production efficiency, operational risk, R&D and innovation, or where should I put my next asset? Or are my operational problems due to machines or training? Within sales, everyone looks at sales enablement and sales management, but which of my salespeople shows the most promise, perhaps? Or within real estate, which locations will drive the most business? What's the drive time for our target demographics to our new locations? Or where do we build the next company office with the lowest impact to existing employees? within customer service and in the call center environments? Which of my customers are most likely to leave us for a competitor? Or are we missing a key cause of an issue buried in millions and millions of cases? All these things require analysis of data. Now, before we dig deeper and show you the stuff you all came to see, I wanted to give you a short background on Ultrix and our partner Qlik. You'll hear more details shortly in the demo for Ultrix and Qlik, but let's give you a brief overview, okay? Ultrix is uniquely focused on serving data analysts by bringing together the data preparation and advanced analytics that they need to be successful in their roles and to deliver the deeper business insight that they're capable of providing. We've been doing this since 2010, and we currently serve over 700 customers across the world, including some of the biggest brands and organizations. We are growing rapidly because our customers see real value in their use of Ultrix every single day. So much so that over 96% renew their subscriptions with us every year. This, along with our funding, allows us to provide ongoing innovation and improve value year after year. Now, the problem of long, slow delivery of analytical business insight is why Ultrix exists today. We provide business analysts with an intuitive workflow for data preparation and advanced analytics that leads to deeper insights in hours, not weeks. You'll understand how when we show you the platform. And as you'll see today, we integrate directly with the Qlik family of visualization tools. Now, a little bit about Qlik. Qlik is a leader in data discovery, delivering intuitive solutions for self-service data visualization and guided analytics. Approximately 33,000 customers rely on Qlik solutions to gain meaning out of information from a variety of sources and explore the hidden relationships within data that leads to insights that ignite good ideas. The needs of business professionals and typical business users can differ slightly, and more significantly when you're talking about BI. Business users need the power to rapidly create visualizations and analyze data without waiting for IT. And technology professionals need the granular control necessary to provide a granular, guided experience for their users. To meet those needs, Qlik offers both Qlik View and Qlik Sense solutions. With Qlik View, and you'll hear more and see more about this in moments, IT and technical business analysts can build powerful guided data visualization and discovery apps that empower their users with interactive access to data. Now with Qlik Sense, all business users are empowered to create their own visualizations or build upon content provided by others through an intuitive, easy-to-use, drag-and-drop self-service application. Qlik Data Analytics Solutions accelerate the adoption of data-driven analysis by fostering natural exploration and delivery of insights. Now together, Qlik and Ultrix deliver a uniquely powerful solution for self-service analytics across these three game-changing enablement strategies. Speed to insight, accelerating the delivery of advanced analytics to business users in a self-service, stretchable BI and discovery environment. Power to analysts, putting the power of advanced predictive and spatial analytics in the hands of business users and making those analytics easy to explore. And lastly, reducing IT burden, addressing the common customer requirements for lines of business today to perform their own analytics and reduce the burden on IT. So now I'm going to pass the screen over to my colleagues, Gene from Ultrix, and he'll be followed by Jesus from Qlik. These guys will really show you the meat of what we're talking about today. I'm providing the top and the bottom bun around this really juicy material. Now you're about to see something from Gene. I'll be back after the presentation and wrap it up with a few summary points. Take it away, Gene.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so what you guys should be seeing now is the Ultrix desktop. The Ultrix desktop is the tool that you're going to use to build streamlined, repeatable, and automated workflows to be able to connect to any data source, clean, prep, reshape your data, recode it if necessary, optimize your data, all prior to pushing it to Qlik. So I'm going to go through and show you kind of how the tool is laid out, and we're going to use it a little bit and build out a workflow so you can see how easy it is to use. And then I have a couple of examples that are pre-completed to be able to push this data out to Qlik so that you can see how that works. So first of all, there's over 200 tools in Ultrix. You can see here I'm on the favorites category right now, which you can put any tools that you use often into this category, and you can move things out that you don't use as often. There's categories for input and output to be able to bring your data in and to be able to browse it and look at it as you're working with it. There's a preparation category which will allow you to automatically cast data or to filter it, to be able to write formulas, to be able to change your data, to be able to tile your data or remove duplicates if your data isn't unique. Category of joining tools, which allow you to join two different data streams together, whether it be a direct join or whether it be something that needs to be worked on with a fuzzy match. So we have the ability, I'm Gene Reines, I live at 387 Deming Street in Rochester, New York. I may be in another database as Eugene Reines at 387 Deming, STREET instead of ST, that needs to be joined together. We have fuzzy matching tools to be able to help you do that, as well as unioning tools to be able to take data from multiple sources and be able to stream it together in a stacked fashion. Data parsing tools, so that if your data is dirty and needs to be cleaned up, we have the ability to go through and parse it using regular expressions to be able to do date time parsing, and to be able to take data and break it into columns or into rows as you're working with it. We can transform it through summarize tools and transposition tools. So if your data has 300 columns and you need it to have 300 rows per record, so that you can build a filter and Qlik to be able to accomplish something that you're setting out to do. We have capabilities for that, and database capabilities so that you can do those joins and those manipulations and have it actually write the SQL code to push it into, right now, Oracle or SQL Server with Hadoop and other tools coming along. We have reporting category, spatial category, as well as predictive tools in here. So let's go ahead and build something out. So for this example, I want to drop an input data tool onto my canvas. As soon as I do that and that tool is highlighted, this configuration area over here is highlighted, and I can go in and I can connect to my data. So if I want to connect to a database, I can come down here, connect to a pre-existing connection that I have, or set up a connection to Hadoop or to Teradata or to Oracle or anything with an OLADB or ODBC connection available to me. This will bring up all of the tables that I have. I can click on a table. I could edit my SQL in here to be able to run custom SQL by cutting and pasting it right into this pane. There's also a visual query builder that works like Microsoft Access to be able to connect tables and data together. In this case, we'll bring in this entire table, and then we'll bring in another input, and we'll get some data from another source. So in this case, I'm going to file browse out, and I'm going to grab a transaction file, which happens to be coming in XML. But you can see here as I click on the file types that are available to me, I can bring in data from almost any type of a flat file, whether it be a text file or an ASCII file, a Google Earth KML file, Esri files, Microsoft Access, Excel, SAS, SPSS. We support many, many file types. Now in order to see this data run, I need to put a browse tool on here and actually click the run button. So I'm going to go ahead and browse, put my run button here, it runs, and now I can get in and be able to look at what the data is that's coming in. So here I have a couple of thousand records about my customers, and I have transactional data coming in as well. I can expand this a little so we can see it a little bit more. And if I look at the inputs, what's coming in, because this is an XML file, just like it would be with a CSV file, everything is coming in as a string. It hasn't been casted to the appropriate field type yet. So what I want to do is go to my preparation tools, and I'm going to drop in an autofield tool. I'll go ahead and let it apply this to all of the columns, but if I wanted to say override a column like ID so that ID didn't get changed into a string, I could override that column there. Now when I run this one more time, come back in, and everything has been recast to the appropriate field type. So I can see I have strings, I have integers, I have doubles coming in through here. If I wanted to manually go through and be able to work with those, I have a select tool that I can drop in. You see, I'm going through the process building out these workflows the same way I would create a Visio to maybe tell a colleague how to go through and process this data, or to work with it as I think about what needs to happen. So with the select tool, I can come in and I can choose to override any of the changes that have been made inside of here. So if I wanted to change this back to a string, I could. If I wanted to change it from ID to rename it as record ID, I can come through and rename it that way as well. I can add description data that will travel along with this data as metadata if I need to be able to keep track of something that was done along the way. So now that I have my data put together here, I also want to be able to create new fields. So if I drop in my formula tool here, this will allow me to access all the different formulas and functions that would be available to me in a tool like, for say, Excel or SPSS to be able to create new fields. So I'm going to create a new field here. We're going to call this total spend. We'll leave it as a double, and I'm just going to take in here my shipping cost, and I'm going to add the total cost for this particular transaction right here, the sales column, together. But we can see inside of these functions that we have date and time functions, we have math functions, we have special operators, spatial functions, string functions to be able to work on in here. So almost anything that you could imagine needing to be able to do to your data, you can execute inside of one form or another of the formula tools that we have. Okay, so now that I've done that, the transaction data is coming in as many rows to a single customer that we have up above. So I want to normalize that. So I'm going to just bring in a summarize tool, drop it in place. We'll find our customer ID field, and we're going to group by that. We'll do a count so we know how many transactions we have. And then we'll take that new field, that total spend, and we'll do a numeric sum on that. And now we'll join the customer data to our spend data about that customer. And we'll join that on the customer ID. Since we have a redundant customer ID, this works just like the select tool I showed you. I can eliminate that redundant customer ID. If I want to move other things around in here, we can click on a field and we can move things up and down. We can restructure the data the way that we want. If there are fields in here that we don't want to carry through, we can drop those off by just checking those off along the way. Okay, so now I have my data put together. We'll add some browsers on the end here. Run this one more time. You'll see something unique about our join tool here is that the data that comes out the center is all of the data that joined from both sides. The data that fell out on the right, these would be transactions that have customer IDs that don't exist in my customer file. That might be a good diagnostic for me, or that might be what I want to work with. And if I had customers that had no transactions, they would fall out up above. If I wanted to do that equivalent of an outer join, I just drop in a union and I can pull those two streams together as we're going along. So you can see here it's very easy to accomplish what you're trying to do as you're working through your workflow. Now just a couple more steps here just to show you that we do have full access to the R suite of predictive tools that we've put a wrapper around to make it easier for the business user to be able to access that information. So I'm going to drop in this case, a logistic regression tool. I'm going to tell it I want to predict a field inside here called responder, which is a yes or a no, or whether or not this customer's responded to an offer in the past. And to be able to predict the likelihood of them being a responder, I'm going to use customer segment, the transaction count, and the sum of total spend and their income as predictor variables to build a model to try and predict the likelihood of them responding to future offers. Go ahead and click Run and let that run. And out of the top output from there, the data that we'll get out will be the model object, which will be the math that we're going to use in the next step. And down below here is the report, which will tell us the coefficients, the scores, the residuals, all of the information that we need out of a report from a predictive analytics tool. Now, one thing to show quickly here is that we put a wrapper around these tools, but each one of these tools is a macro that can be opened up. I'm going to click and open up this tool, and we'll just go in and we'll look at the R console tool inside of here. And what we're doing is we're dynamically generating this R code to be able to execute that logistic regression as it's running. So if you have your own R code that you want to run, we have that tool available to you as a console tool to be able to run your own R code once the data has been put together the way that you need it. And you also have the ability to go in and make changes to these tools if you want to add something to or change something in the way that some of this code is being executed. All right, so I want to now be able to utilize those scores back into my data. So I'm going to take and bring in a scoring tool, connect my model object. Remember the math that's coming out of the upper output from this predictive tool. And we'll bring our data in on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and add a browse after here. Run this one more time. And we'll see that we've taken and applied that score now to every record. And as soon as it finishes running, we'll have a couple of new columns, which is going to be the probability of a customer responding to an offer or not responding to an offer here, somewhere between 0 and 1. So the likelihood of a yes or a no. Now we want to go out to Qlik to be able to use that data to do some further analytics. So I'm going to drop in a output data tool, connect my data stream to that. And this is where I could go out to another database connection. So if I have my Qlik pointed to a Oracle database or a SQL Server or someplace that I want to just write a new table or update a table, I can do that. Or with a file browse, I can go out, choose my Qlik QVX file format, and we'll call it output data. And I'll go ahead and run this one more time. And the final result of this will be a QVX file. Now I'm just going to take my last 2 minutes that I have here, and let's take a look at a couple of workflows similar to this that have already been built out. This particular workflow here that I just clicked on, we'll give it a minute to refresh, there we go, is a multi-channel analysis where we've taken and done used some spatial tools to measure the distance from customers to stores. If we come down through here, this is a pretty elaborate workflow. We've used those formula tools. We've used the unique to remove duplicate values. We're inputting data about our stores, about our customers, and transactions that have happened in catalog, over the web, and within the store. And then we're going through and we're doing some, using a forest model to do some modeling and using that same scoring tool that I showed you before. And at the end, this is outputting, instead of to a QVX file this time, directly to a QlikView worksheet. This has been pre-run. When it runs in this output window that I have down below over here, I get hyperlinks to the data that comes out of here. If I click on the hyperlink out to Qlik, it will open up that workbook inside of Qlik at the end of the Ultrix run. And here I can go through and I can analyze by store what the average drive distance from customers are to their stores. I can look at comparisons between customers that shop in store and whether they're shopping in catalog as well or whether they're shopping in e-commerce as well. So my dashboard is pre-built for me inside of Qlik. Now, of course, these workflows can be automated. They can be simple. They can be as easy as, in this case, taking my survey data in, which is coming through here that I have 17 different fields, and just doing a transpose so that now for each survey number, as I was talking about before, I have the survey response and a value that I can then push out to Qlik. And in this case, I also have a QVX file that's been generated out of that. So these workflows can be automated. They can be scheduled. They can be run on demand from inside of Qlik as we're going along. So I guess we're holding questions to the end, but I'd like to turn this over now that you've seen what Ultrix can do with data to my colleague Jesus, who's going to show you what to do with it once it's in Qlik.
All right, excellent, Gene. Thank you so much. So I'm sharing my screen now. So at this point, you should see my screen. And so as Gene mentioned, the main integration point or the main output that Alteryx is going to produce is going to end up being a QVX file. So just to keep going on with the same story, what I have on the screen is that QVX file that has been produced. And now we're going to be using Qlik Sense to analyze the output of the model that was built. So when I open Qlik Sense, I have the option to start creating a new application from scratch. So an application it's going to actually start pointing to that file that we just created. So by using a quick data load, I can now go and grab that QVX file and start building content that way, and start browsing the output of that model that has been created and bring that into Qlik. Now, in the best interest of time, right now, what we're going to do is we're going to start backwards, and we're going to start by looking at that end product that Gene mentioned, and just show you how to analyze that output with Qlik Sense. So when I open an application in Qlik Sense is basically three components, or has three main parts. The first one is the sheets or all the visual components that are going to allow us to do that analysis and business discovery. I have some bookmarks available that basically reference to some selections that demonstrate some particular aspect of the discovery. And I have also some stories, or the ability to create stories to share my insights and my discoveries. So starting here with the sheets, when I start analyzing the data, I get presented with different visualizations. One key aspect of Qlik is that any of these visualizations, they allow me to interact with the data in many different ways. So for example, starting on the top, I can understand the correlation between different metrics that have been created. So for example, the relationship between the average distance that the customers are going to travel compared to the total distance, and see how all the different stores map in that correlation. Or I can look at the different segments or different clusters of customers that have been created by that model and understand where those customers are located. At the same time, at the bottom, I can see the correlation between the probability of customers realizing a purchase or a transaction in the store compared to the probability of buying via the catalog or the e-commerce channel. Now, any of these visualizations, as I mentioned before, it's going to allow me to interact with the data in a very dynamic way. So for example, let's say that we're looking at a particular level of probability or confidence that we want to look at in terms of the data. So I can identify that level within the visualization, and by that selecting the customers that belong to that particular segment. Now, whenever I interact with any of these visualizations, what I'm actually doing is leveraging the associative capability of Qlik. And by that, what I mean is a couple of things that have happened, probably you noticed. The first one is that when I create that selection, all the other visualizations, they are put in that context. So for example, now I can understand how those customers, they map in relationship of, for example, the products that they are buying, the location, where they're located, the probability of doing purchases in the store versus the e-commerce channel. And more importantly, what I can understand is all the other aspects of the data model that are associated with those customers and the aspects that they are not associated. So if I look at my dimensions, I can see I have a dimension called channel, and I can see that there's part of that dimension that is going to be in white and part that is gray. Now, the white part represents the channels that they are associated with these customers, and the gray represents the channels that they are not associated. So if I start extrapolating this concept across all the dimensions within the model, I can start answering a lot of questions and doing a lot of discovery without having to ask any further questions. So right out of the box, I can tell exactly the fact that there's one subcategory that is not associated with this particular set of customers that I'm looking at, just by looking at the gray part of that dimension. Now, in addition of understanding that visually, I can also look at every single part of the data model that has been loaded as part of that QBX, and then start making further selections or start refining what is that I'm going to be looking at. So now, based on these customers, maybe I want to focus on a particular customer segment, and maybe I want to start focusing on particular subcategories. And as I start refining that filter, you can start seeing how the gray starts increasing across all the dimensions. And that is because very quickly we're going from thousands or in many cases billions of records to the specific set of the data or the slice of the data that we really care about that is going to help us answer a particular business question. Now, whenever I create that filter, the same as before, basically it's going to apply across the board. And I can easily preserve that filter as in the form of a bookmark. So I can start capturing my different criteria and how I want to look at the data in case that I want to actually come back to it. So very easily I can just zoom back out and look at all the data. And if I would want to quickly go back to my discovery, I can just apply the bookmark and go back to it. Now, another interesting aspect of this associative engine that I'm talking about is the searching capability. So all of the different dimensions, basically, they are glued through this associative data model that I'm talking about. So that allows me to start searching and browsing the data in different ways. So let's say, for example, that I'm looking at, I'm interested to understand customers that buy telephones in my stores. And I also want to look at maybe the clusters that represent families. So I start searching for families as well, and maybe in a particular city within my territory. So we're looking for the city Aurora. So you notice that as I start typing, Qlik, well, first it will do the matching right away. So then I don't have to know exactly what I'm looking for. I can just start typing and then use the autocomplete to complete my search. And more importantly, Qlik is going to find all the different matches across the board. So if I'm looking just for the city or just for the customer cluster or the product subcategory, I can select that as the filtering criteria, or I can leverage any potential combination of what I'm looking for. So I can look at the combinations of 2 of the 3 elements or even the combination of the 3 of them. And very quickly, again, go from billions of records to the set of or the slice of the data that I'm interested in. Now, as I go along, I can actually take or capture or preserve some of these discoveries that we're talking about. So in the case of what we were talking about before, going to a particular bookmark and then finding something of interest, so maybe the fact that there's just 2 stores that represent this particular segment represents my discovery, I can preserve those discoveries in the form of snapshots. So whatever I'm in the application, I can just keep capturing those discoveries with the goal of later on create a story and use that story to convey my insight. So in this particular case, let's say that we're going to look at all the data again. Let's say that like now we want to analyze further that segment of our customers that represent families. So I start searching for those families again, and I find these 4 categories. So I'm going to actually use the 4 of them and see actually what their distribution looks like. And what I'm finding now is that something interesting, that some of these or this particular cluster of customers tends to buy office furniture. which makes me believe that probably some of these families, they represent people that work from home and they're setting home offices. So maybe what I'm going to be interested in is doing maybe some bundle campaigns or marketing campaigns that incentive the purchase of other office products when they buy office furniture. And looking at the distribution of probability in this case, I can see that the probability of those customers buying in the store is actually quite high. So I want to start capturing those snapshots so then I can put together a story. Now, once I have the discoveries that I was looking for, then I can go and convey that story. So in this particular case, I already have that story built in. But as you can see from here, the idea is once I have those discoveries, I can leverage this built-in capability to put together that flow of discoveries and then convey those discoveries accordingly. So maybe now I'm using the same app. I want to start conveying that to my marketing leader, and I want to tell them or explain to them what I found and some of the ideas that I'm having. As far as bundling office furniture with some of the other products that they are buying, and then supporting that with the probability distribution that was provided by the Alteryx model. Now, these stories, the whole idea of the stories is that the stories are also dynamic. So in the second part of the story, maybe I want to use these to dynamically look at different segments of the population. So in this particular case, we were looking at families or the cluster that represents families. And the same way I could search for maybe a different segment. So and now I want to compare how that distribution looks for the clusters that represent single people. And so I start searching for single. I can find 2 clusters, and I can apply now and change the course of the story on the fly, and then compare and have a conversation and realize that actually this segment, instead of buying office furniture, what they buy the most is paper. And with the score that was provided by the model, I can see that they tend to buy that paper via our e-commerce channel. So now I can start thinking whether I want to shift that behavior, and maybe I want to have or try to have these customers come to the store instead of buying online, thinking that if they come to the store, they can actually buy other products. So maybe I can start trying to bundle some of my marketing efforts around paper and other products that I sell as well. Now, one key aspect that Michael mentioned at the beginning is the ease of use and how easy it is to create new content and not just leverage the content that has been provided, but just create new content on the fly and maybe potentially even enrich what we have here with other sources of data, or maybe some of the data that I have available that was not part of the model. So in this case, what I want to do is I have some customer loyalty information. So I have here my customers. I have the number of years that they've been part of our loyalty program, and I want to include that as part of the analysis. So in this particular case, I'm just going to go and quickly add that data. So instead of replacing what I have, I just want to add. So same as before, I just simply go and find that output or that file. Now, the same way that I'm loading a QBX or an Excel file, obviously we can connect to any type of files, but also more importantly to relational databases via ODBC or LDB, really any type of source, whether regardless of the shape, the format, the structure of the data, we can easily bring that data into the application. So in this particular case, I'm just going for that loyalty customer data. And let's say, add the data. Right there. I think it's actually here duplicated. Okay. So I'm having here like a little trouble loading these, but well, let me actually start here from a different one. Okay. All right, so the data has been loaded, and now once I have the data in place, I can easily start creating content. So let's say, for example, that I want to actually use, and actually we're going to load the other data as well. So okay, so we're going to bring the QBX that we had before. Okay, so now I have that data available, and I want to start creating my own discovery. And the idea here is that I can leverage basically all the different type of visualizations that I have available out of the box to start creating that content. So let's say that I want to create first understand how maybe my customers, they the distance that they travel. So I can add a measure, and maybe I want to do the average distance that they travel. So now I can see the distribution of that distance. And I want to combine that with the content that we brought from our loyalty data. So if I want to add a metric, I can add the average time that they've been our customers, and then see if there's any particular correlation between the two. So the idea here is also that I can easily enrich or create the same application that we were looking at before by just dragging different fields. So, and anything that I drag, it's going to be put in that associative context right away. So before we were looking at a particular city, so I can select that city and then apply that dynamically as a filter to what I'm looking at. So with that, let me, I know we're here running a little bit short on time, so let me turn it back to Michael to wrap up the session.
Hey, thanks, Jesus. Appreciate that. Well, thanks for the view behind the curtain here for both Gene and Jesus. What always amazes us daily is the really fascinating stuff that our customers do with our products. There's lots of examples and customer videos on our customer site, on Ultrix site and Qlik site for you to see, but I want to talk about one customer that's really amazing. We've got a great customer and a partner that wishes to remain nameless at this point in time. They're a large global professional services organization that's utilizing Alteryx and Qlik to deliver cutting-edge data discovery and data visualization solutions to the pharma industry. All right? They've been able to build a very sophisticated workflow for helping you predict which pharma sales rep really needs more training to keep their FDA compliance in check around off-label use for their products. This combines analysis of the amount of face time, sales call duration each rep has with a doctor, along with expense reporting, training history, and a large number of other inputs. They run Ultrix predictive analytics, and then they visualize the results in QlikView. The results have been groundbreaking. They've gotten deeper insights through application of predictive analytics to determine high-risk sales reps who need more training. they've been able to significantly cut down the time to gather data and perform analytics, again, from weeks to hours. And by using Ultrix intuitive workflow, they've replaced 3 different tools that they used to use to gather data and join it together. So combining this with the expansive interactive visualization options they get by using Qlik, they are able to present to their clients and interact with their data with faster and more precise deliverables to set themselves apart from their competitors. So what we hear from customers lately is a complete validation of our whole product intention. All right. The other day, an email circulated from with a couple of customer quotes. First one said, "Ultrix has reduced our development efforts by 75%. The joy of a tool to use like this as a developer is breathtaking." And then another one that came through, "Ultrix has made my work easy by enabling me to automate most of my tasks, and here, more importantly, give me more time to work on more complicated issues." So that's what it comes down to, is how can you slice your time by automating as much as possible? So our major focus is on delivering data preparation and advanced analytics that organizations need to deliver this deeper insight. So we see in each customer, we see 2 different roles. The data analyst, who's part of a line of business such as marketing, sales, finance, real estate, whatever, and a business decision maker for whom the analyst provides that data. All right? For analytics to really provide value, it has to take into account both of these users with their unique requirements and capabilities. So this has just been a really quick taste. We've jammed it into an hour here just to see how you can make your analytical lives so much easier. There's a lot more to see and a lot more to learn. There's tutorials, there's videos, there's everything that you can start exploring on both the Ultrix or the Qlik websites that you'll see on your screen now. We also introduce you and welcome you to start exploring what you've seen today. Part of what you've seen today is the Ultrix Visual Analytics Kit for Qlik, which is available as a free download, as noted on this slide here. You can also combine that Viz Kit with a free 14-day trial version of Ultrix, and you'll be up and running quickly. What's really interesting is many of our happiest customers actually started this way, with the Viz Kit and a trial, and they built their business case within a day. And it turned their previous data prep from weeks to hours, or from hours to minutes. So enough promotion, all right? We wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, and we appreciate you submitting your questions. I'm going to pass it back over to Tim, who's going to moderate our Q&A that's there. So let's see what's been building up.
Great. Thanks, you guys. Great presentation. Those live demos are always risky, but you both did a wonderful job. So we're low on time here, so I want to jump to the questions. Just to let the audience know that during the Q&A portion, you can take note of the slide that's there. You can take down Michael, Gene, and Jesus' information. You can reach out to them after the event to ask them questions if you want to do so later on. So I'm going to jump right into it. The first one is for, let's see, any capabilities towards text analytics / social media data? I think this was for Gene.
Yeah, so Ultrix can be used to do a lot of different things with text. We're not necessarily a text mining tool, but an example of some of the work I've done with some other Qlik users is to be able to take and count up tuples to be able to look at what words are showing up over and over again. And of course, social media data, we do have connectors that I didn't really have time to show you guys that will allow you to pull data directly from Facebook or from Twitter and be able to apply those directly to your workflows and to bring that data in, take that unstructured data and be able to structure it.
Sorry about that. I had you guys on mute. Sorry.
Oh.
Good answer there. The next question, I apologize. What is the typical time / cost to deploy Ultrix in a corporate environment? That's from Michael.
Great, common question here. It's actually really low cost and low time, for example. The tool can be purchased as both a desktop tool, and the cost starts at about $4,000 per user per year. So it's a subscription base. Most of our customers start with 1 to 3 licenses and then grow their usage over time. And we also offer free training online to go with that as well. So each purchase of Ultrix includes time with our customer service team just to ensure you're getting off on the right foot.
Okay, very good. Jesus, this one is for you. Is there an interface or conversion from Qlik and Qlik View to Microsoft PowerPoint?
Jesus, that would be you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, probably the easiest way could be, from either Qlik View or QlikSense. You can always export the data to Excel. So that's probably the easiest way to then whether it's enriching the data in Excel furthermore, or just from Excel just transfer it to PowerPoint. Now the storytelling part that I show, really the idea there is just to avoid having to go through those extra steps and be able to tell the story within the application itself. So capturing the discovery and then right there tell the story within the app.
Okay, very good. Gene, this one is going to be for you. You discussed using R with Ultrix, but the question from the audience, or this particular person is, can it also be used if you have Python code? Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's actually a tool in our developer category called the run command tool. So anything that can be written, whether it be in Python or Perl or any other scripting language, can be executed from inside of Ultrix. And the way that tool configures is that you set up a working directory. So your workflow goes into a working directory. It then executes whatever that code is, whether it be Python or something else, inside of the inside of that workspace, and then the result is then brought back into Ultrix, and you can continue down your workflow. So I have people that have been executing Python that way. They just wrap it as a script and call it from the executable. And I also have people that I actually just did used that tool to build a workflow for a demo for tomorrow for the U.S. government, where I'm running a zip executable to be able to unzip a file after I download it from an FTP site, all within a single workflow. So yeah, we do have people executing Python from inside of Ultrix.
Okay, very good. Unfortunately, since I'm trying to stay within the time zone here of 1 hour, I'm going to have that be the last question. I want the audience to be rest assured that we have a lot of questions come in. We're going to make sure that you do get an answer sent to you, because all these are being sent to Michael, Gene, and Jesus, so they will be getting back to you directly. But there is an event coming up that I'm going to pass to Michael Snow so he can discuss real quickly before we end here. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, thanks, Tim. This webcast would not be complete if we didn't mention our upcoming Inspire User Conference. This is an incredible gathering of people that actually love Ultrix and aren't afraid to say so. Qlik is going to be one of our platinum sponsors this year. Our theme this year of analytic independence puts the power of data blending and advanced analytics back into the hands of the data analysts, the people that know the data best and who want to work without hindrance or restraint. We're expecting about 800 plus attendees from a diverse set of industries and departments, and we will be invading Boston this year, May 17th to the 20th at the Westin Copley Place. I'm in Boston now, and I hope there will be no snow here in May, I can tell you. So anyway, we look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to the Alteryx.com/inspire for more information. It's a great conference. Check us out. And then thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Great. Thanks for that, Michael. I just have a quick announcement to make, to please mark your calendars for March 3rd and our next Data Science Central webinar, Better Risk Management with Apache Hadoop and Red Hat, sponsored by Hortonworks and Red Hat. So this will bring our webinar to a close. I'd like to thank our audience for some great questions and a great job by our attendees, our panelists today. I want to thank both Alteryx and Qlik for their sponsorship. I want to thank Michael Snow, Gene Reines, and Jesus Centeno for their insight into today's topic. My name is Tim Madison. It's been a pleasure to be your host for today's webinar. I'll look forward to seeing you all again on March 3rd. Good day.